Not a pretty scene if you were looking for supplies in Palm Beach County tonight. Some super long lines, a lot of empty shelves at home improvement stores. People stocking up on stuff like water, batteries, flashlight, plywood. One Home Depot telling 4 in Your Corner that they had loads of plywood yesterday. They just ran out. 4 in Your Corner's Lisa Greenberg talking to someone yesterday who got there right after they ran out. Well, that was a long pause. That's probably what he heard when he was told that. Hold on a second, to get the plywood? No. Well, that's what's happening for folks in Palm Beach County, and it's been disappointing. At this point, though, the governor's saying, quit boarding up if you're along the coast. Move out of there.
All right, so we want to go to Lisa Greenberg. She is standing by on the east coast of Florida. She has been monitoring the situation there. So, Lisa, what are things looking like there?
Hey guys, we're standing on the edge of Clear Lake. This is just on the coast of West Palm Beach. You can take a look over there and see that there's some chop on the water. There's winds that are gusting. We actually just had such a strong gust of wind that it knocked my photographer, Michael Cadigan's hat off. It knocked our tripod to the ground. It was so strong. Of course, we were saying, why aren't we on live TV right now to show everybody this? But it's starting to pick up a little bit more. You can see, obviously, now it's raining. We've been kind of going in and out of gusts of wind, and bands of rain. One thing I've noticed is I remember when I went through Hurricane Charlie, being able to look up at the sky before and seeing that the clouds are moving extremely fast. That's what we're seeing right now. So that's another sign that something big is to come. Like I said, those winds were really strong just a few minutes ago. They're decently strong right now. I couldn't give you, we'd have to consult Derek for exactly how strong they are, but it's very eerie around this part of West Palm Beach. No one's outside. No cars are hardly on the road. The downtown area has been cleared out. The businesses are closed. Any local business you can think of, like those fast food restaurants and drugstores that typically stay open, the gas stations that typically stay open 24 hours, they're all closed. So something big is heading to this area. We're going to continue to monitor that. We're going to be out here all night, so make sure to stick with Fox 4. For now, reporting live on West Palm Beach, Lisa Greenberg, Fox 4, in your corner.
All right, thank you, Lisa. We do want to take a quick look at Storm Shield Doppler radar. The governor mentioned that this storm is expected to make landfall on Florida's east coast sometime overnight tonight or in the early morning hours. But you can look at this. The outer rain bands from the storm, they are already dumping rain across parts of Florida, including parts of southwest Florida.
And what's ahead? Well, sometimes you have to look at where this hurricane has been. This is video out of the Bahamas, this deadly hurricane hitting parts of the Bahamas starting last night, pounding the area with at least 130-mile-an-hour winds and torrential rain. We're now learning the storm has killed more than 100 people. Most of the deaths reported thus far have happened in Haiti, southern and western Haiti, bearing the brunt of this storm. A lot of falling trees, flying debris, and you can see these swollen rivers of mud just sweeping through parts of the country.
Amazing images. I'm sure we're going to be seeing much more as we go throughout the day and the night tonight. We do want to send it over to our chief meteorologist now, Derek Beasley. He's standing by in the Weather Center tracking the latest on Hurricane Matthew. Derek?
Well, guys, been watching Matthew, and it's actually looking very interesting. One thing is that it looks like it is strengthening as far as the pressure is concerned. Now, there hasn't been any change in the winds as of the 4 o'clock position update, but it does look like the pressure has dropped just a little bit in it as the hurricane hunters are flying in it now. Now, another thing I want to show you is it looks like it's developing what we call a concentric eye wall signature. You've got an inner eye wall here, and then you have a new outer eye wall, and there's actually, if you can see those little minus and plus signs here, those are lightning strikes. So lightning is not something you typically see in the hurricanes, but in this particular case, sometimes in the eye wall with intensifying hurricanes, you can get a few lightning strikes. But you can see how this eye wall is basically wobbling inside the entire larger eye wall. So this likely is going to end up being the dominant eye in the next several hours as this one collapses. So this is going to be pretty interesting to watch as it goes off towards the north and west. But you can see the rain bands continue to push inland across southwest Florida. We're seeing a pretty decent band now moving through Inglewood and Rotunda up towards areas around Venice and just leaving Port Charlotte, seeing some more heavy downpours from Pine Island all the way back towards Captiva and Sanibel. From really Bokeelia all the way down towards St. James City. And we're seeing some pretty decent downpours as well from Port of the Islands, including Marco Island. Naples seeing some pretty decent downpours. And it's not the question with these bands, we could see some wind gusts approaching 30, 40 miles per hour. We've actually seen that in some of the bands that have moved on through. And I do think for most of southwest Florida, if we're going to be seeing winds like that, it's going to be mainly in the bands. Outside of the bands, generally, 10, 15, 20 mile an hour, maybe 30 mile an hour winds. I don't expect them to get any stronger than that. So we're not expecting hurricane force winds in most of southwest Florida. It looks like just mainly winds in the 10 to 20 to 30 mile an hour range with some stronger gusts in some of these heavier bands as they move on through. Now you can see Sebring and Lake Placid in Highlands County, and then another stronger band coming in out of Okeechobee County, and that's going to be moving into Highlands County here over the next several minutes. You can see the winds are generally 15, 20, 25 miles per hour, mainly out of the north and east. So this is really what you're going to be seeing here for the rest of this evening. And you see some gusts there getting up to 25 in Punta Gorda, 21 in Naples, and that's with that band that's been pushing on through. This is the area that I think is going to have the strongest winds tonight as the core of the storm gets a little bit closer. That's going to be closest to Lake Okeechobee, including Glades, Highlands, and over towards Clewiston over in Hendry County. You can see it's moving towards the north and west, and again, this movement is expected to continue here and likely going to be approaching the West Palm Beach located right about here, so this Palm Beach County, Martin, St. Lucie County, Indian River County. So basically, it's going to be approaching the coast in this particular direction after midnight, and with the core of the storm being so close to the coast, that's why we expect potential there for some strong tropical storm force winds for Glades and Hendry County as we get into later on tonight. You can also see it from visible satellite here. You can see how there's the inner eye and then the outer eye that is trying to develop a concentric eye wall signature showing up on satellite, indicating that the storm is trying to organize and re-intensify. It's already done that, and we very well could see this thing get a little bit stronger as it approaches the Florida coast here for tonight. You can see the recon, the Air Force Reserve reconnaissance flight is out there right now, measuring a pressure of 936 millibars with the last drops on that they put into the storm. Here's the latest track. Again, the position update, 26.0 degrees north, 78.4 degrees west, moving towards the northwest at about 14, and pressure right around 938 millibars. So again, this movement will continue. We're going to get the new track update coming up at 5 o'clock, and I do not expect it to change. It's going to stay right close to the Florida coast, and this is going to create a huge problem for the Space Coast and the First Coast. It has been a long time. We're talking over 100 years since they're going to see a storm anything like what we're expecting with Matthew as it approaches. So this is going to be an unprecedented event for the Georgia coast all the way down towards the Space Coast here and the First Coast here for later on tonight and for tomorrow. Hurricane warning remains in effect here for areas as far south as Broward County, but I really think the core, the strongest winds are going to be staying close to the coast here, really from Palm Beach County northward. Up towards Cape Canaveral and points north from there. We're still under a tropical storm watch for parts of southwest Florida. It has not been upgraded to a warning yet, but that's just to account for the fact that we could see some of those gusts approaching tropical storm force across much of southwest Florida with some of these bands that push on through. The higher chance again for sustained tropical storm force winds will be Glades and Hendry County here as we get into later on tonight once the core of the storm gets a little bit closer. As a result, the tropical storm warning remains in effect again for Polk County, Hardy, and even, I don't want to leave out DeSoto County. DeSoto County, you guys have a better chance, really, than I think anybody else of seeing some of those tropical storm force wind gusts. So Arcadia, watch out for that here later on tonight. And you can see it goes all the way down through Glades, Hendry, and inland Collier for the next, at least the next 12 to 18 hours or so. And as you can see, the core of the storm going to stay mainly on the coast here and a little bit offshore. That's where the darker reds are. The strongest winds are expected there. But you can see the tropical storm force wind field extends far out towards the west. So, again, some of those same areas that I just mentioned will be dealing with those sustained tropical storm force winds. But look at this. By the time we head towards tomorrow afternoon, this is going to be gone. So once the storm lifts away from the area, conditions are going to improve significantly from south to north throughout the morning hours. So really the worst of it's going to be right around midnight tonight through the early morning hours tomorrow, and then this thing is going to be gone. Again, the highest chances for hurricane force winds, mainly offshore and near the coast, tropical storm force winds. And I want you to see how close these lines are. This goes to show you how quick of a drop-off we're going to be seeing as far as the chance for seeing sustained tropical storm force winds. And the brighter colors here, northeast Glades, or really eastern Glades and northeastern Hendry, and the Highlands County is where we're going to see the highest chance for seeing those tropical storm force winds here for tonight. You can see the computer model forecast basically shows the eye of the storm approaching, at least the western edge of the eye wall, approaching Palm Beach County, Martin, St. Lucie County, up towards Fort Pierce by 11 o'clock tonight, and then tracking right along the coast up the I-95 corridor as we get into tomorrow morning. So right around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, this thing is going to be approaching Cape Canaveral, again, as a Category 4 hurricane, and then eventually heading up towards Jacksonville here by tomorrow afternoon, and Orlando a little bit before that. The purple colors showing the strongest wind gusts, again, associated with Matthew as it moves on away, and that's where we could see again some of those wind gusts approaching hurricane force with the core of the storm approaching this area late tonight into early tomorrow morning, and then things look like these should gradually improve as we go throughout the day tomorrow, and certainly much better for the upcoming weekend. Guys?
All right, thank you, Derek. Well, President Obama has declared a federal state of emergency for more than 24 counties in Florida, and this includes our inland counties in Southwest Florida, Hendry and Glades. The Department of Homeland Security and FEMA will be coordinating relief efforts to help people who are affected by the storm, and the governor has said he's asking the administration to give extra things like gas, fuel, water, tarps, generators. Now, Lee County's Emergency Operations Center is partially activating itself for the next 24 hours. So this is to open up shelters for people who are leaving their homes on the East Coast. Now, Lee County is not in the direct path of Matthew, but it could still experience some strong winds and some rains associated with the storm. And there are multiple shelters open across our area. We can get some of the names up on the screen for you here in just a minute, but there's 2 in Hendry and Glades, and there's 2 in Lee County. If you are in the Hendry and Glades area, you've got LaBelle Middle School, Clewiston Middle School, and if you're in Lee County, there's a Lico Arena at FGCU, as well as the Estero Recreation Center. That one is pet friendly, just in case you do want to bring your pets with you there. All right, so we are going to
Hendry County, because that's been a big focus for us. We know that folks in this part of Southwest Florida want to get their hands on these sandbags. We've been showing you why, because tropical storm warnings and watches in effect for this area of Florida. Hendry County is among them. The shelters are now open and in place. So if you're looking for a safe place from these effects of the storm, remember, the storm does not have to come over land for you to feel some really strong gusts. Let's get right to 4 in the Corners' Deborah SOUVERAIN. She's in Clewiston in Hendry County with the very latest on this part of the story. Deborah?
Amy and Patrick, I'm still here at Clewiston Middle School, and I've been talking to people as they're going in to check into the shelter here. Now, this is one of 2 shelters in Hendry County. The other one is at LaBelle Middle School, and I just ran into Joanna, and Joanna tells me this is her first hurricane that she's ever experienced. And Joanna, that's why you decided to come here?
Yes.
Tell me, what was it? What did you hear that made you realize it was time to maybe leave home?
I heard that was going to be Category 4, and I heard that's a really dangerous storm, and I just wanted to be safe. So.
And who are you here with?
My mom, my aunt, and my cousin.
All right. Are you bringing anything with you? Air mattress, food? Do you have all those supplies?
Yeah, I do.
And tell me, how is Hendry County when it rains? Do you guys see a lot of flooding?
No, all we see really is just like bad wind or water and lots of lightning.
What's your main concern for leaving home? Did you think that your home may not be safe enough when the winds pick up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that because we have a big tree in the back of our house, and I'm really scared it's gonna fall on our house, and we come home and see nothing. So.
Yeah. Well, it's good you're taking those extra precautions, and that's what people want residents here to do. Thank you so much, Joanna. They want you to take precaution, seek shelter, even if you think your home may be safe. Try to find somewhere that's very, very secure, that can withstand those strong winds that are expected to hit this area. And so for now, we're going to stay here and keep talking to people. We haven't been able to go inside of the shelter just yet, but once we do, we'll try to give you a look inside to show you just what the shelter looks like. We're told that it can house up to 200 people, and if this shelter is filled up, they have another area, another school that they will be sending people to. But for now, we're going to send it back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Deborah. Just a heads up, we just found out that Cape Coral announcing tonight the parks and recreation facilities throughout the city are going to close tonight as of 7, just as a precaution. And tonight, the mayor in Miami has some serious advice for anyone who's thinking, I think I might be able to ride this out along the coast. He says that you've got to take it very seriously. Take a listen.
You should be prepared just in case for hurricane force winds. These storms have a way of maybe jogging a little bit to the west. We do not expect that. You need to stay where you are. You should be already prepared. It's a good day to stay at home, enjoy your family, and ride out the storm.
Remember, Hurricane Matthew has already caused the deaths of at least 100 people. Most of those deaths have happened in Haiti, and of course, a lot of people in South Florida have connections to Haiti as well as Southwest Florida, so it's been doubly difficult for people who are trying to check on loved ones in the Caribbean. We also know that voluntary and mandatory evacuations in Florida are now stretching from just north of the Miami area all the way north to Georgia and South Carolina. We're talking about a huge chunk of the southeast corridor of the U.S. Governor Rick Scott repeatedly warning you tonight tonight that a direct hit from Matthew from Florida could lead to, quote, massive destruction on a level unseen since Hurricane Andrew devastated the Miami area back in 1992.
Well, West Palm Beach, which is under a hurricane warning right now, take a look at this video. You can see they're already feeling the fringe effects of Matthew. Thunderstorms, gusty winds pounding the area. And of course, as we go into the evening, it's only expected to get worse there. The governor saying earlier today to these people like this who are out riding the waves and surfing, don't. He said, you know, you don't want to put emergency responders' lives at risk. And sometimes if it gets bad enough, they won't be able to come and help you. So again, he's saying try not to do that. Our Malcolm Johnson is on the East Coast in West Palm, giving us a closer look at how that area is preparing for Matthew.
The runners, the dog walkers, and the last-minute beer drinkers were among the few enjoying their comforts outdoors before Hurricane Matthew forces them to stay indoors.
It feels, I feel it in my chest. I actually couldn't sleep last night because I was anticipating the worst.
It's hard not to fear for the worst when 120-mile-per-hour winds are in the forecast. But the cliche calm before the storm phrase couldn't be more appropriate during the early morning hours.
It's not hot, it's not cold, it's breezy, it's gorgeous. I could be like this all the time.
Unfortunately, this weather won't last. The breeze will turn to devastating wind gusts and torrential rain that requires sandbags to prepare for flooding. Throughout downtown West Palm, this is what you will see: plywood, as local restaurants begin to board up their business as they get ready for Hurricane Matthew and the wind speeds that are projected to be up to 125 miles an hour.
We're now, just continuing business for the day and hope to be open as soon as possible tomorrow.
And opening tomorrow is taking an optimistic approach when tropical storm winds are expected through Friday afternoon. Reporting in West Palm Beach, Malcolm Johnson, Fox 4, in your corner.
All right. In Southwest Florida, people in Hendry County spending the day yesterday and part of today filling up sandbags, taking no chances. In Hendry County, there are 2 self-serve sandbag locations. One is in Clewiston, and the other in LaBelle. It's at the rodeo center there.
Meanwhile, the Army Corps of Engineers saying tonight that Lake Okeechobee's water level has risen slightly since yesterday already. It's now sitting at just over 15 feet, but officials are saying it's not time to worry at this point. They say they start to worry when it gets at 17 feet rather, so we have about 2 feet to go. Meanwhile, they say a recent inspection of the Hoover Dike, which surrounds Lake Okeechobee, is supposed to prevent serious flooding, revealed no new areas of concern, but should issues arise, the Corps has an emergency action plan in place. The Corps is also going to conduct another inspection after the storm passes.
All right, we're continuing to track Hurricane Matthew right now on radar, as you can see, just south of Freeport. It looks like with the last few frames here, it is taking a little bit of a jog towards the north. So we're going to continue to see this type of movement as it gets closer to the Florida coast here for tonight. You may see a jog to the north and then back towards the west. And again, this is really kind of the movement that's typical for these major hurricanes as they move along. They can do these little wobbles, and that certainly makes all the difference, particularly when you're talking about an approach towards the Florida coast, where even just a few miles will make a huge difference on where it makes landfall along the coast. So right now it looks like West Palm Beach is pretty much, as far as a direct hit, in the clear. I do think, though, that the eye will pass very close to there, though, later on tonight. But as far as West Palm Beach taking a direct hit from this thing, I'm not seeing that right now. But you can see that stair-step movement as it moves on through. Now, here in Southwest Florida, we've been dealing with some of the outer bands that have been pushing across, and we do not anticipate tornadoes with these, as we're not on the side of the storm that's favorable with the wind shear, favorable for producing tornadoes. So none of these right here are likely going to produce tornadoes. We're just going to be mainly looking at some heavy downpours and a few gusty winds. There's a few wind gusts with it as it pushes on through. We could easily see some wind gusts approaching 30 to 40 miles per hour with these as they move through. But in general, that's about all you can expect out of these as they push across the area. You can see that one band there just west of Bokeelia and one pushing offshore there from Marco Island. We're looking at some other bands here now pushing through portions of Okeechobee County and pushing off towards the west there into Highlands County. So Sebring and Lake Placid is going to be seeing some more rain here very shortly. You can see the winds have been running anywhere from 10 to 20 miles an hour, and that's, again, mostly what we're going to be seeing here for the next several hours is winds generally in the 10 to 20 mile an hour range, perhaps some gusts getting up to around 30 to 35 miles per hour here for the next several hours. You can see that the wind gusts there at 29 at Port Charlotte, 21 in Naples, and winds is out in the north. For the most part, as the circulation center kind of is just to our south and east, and with the rotation around the eye, we're getting that north to northeast wind. Now, tomorrow our winds are going to shift out of the west as the system moves away, but you can see how the core of the storm there, the eye trying to reform, as it moves to the north and west there. A little bit closer inspection here shows that northward wobble. So we'll likely see this kind of wobbling around, and eventually we expect it to get close enough to the coast here by tomorrow morning once it gets up around Cape Canaveral. That's where we're going to be seeing that potential for it to maybe touch the coast, if not make a brief landfall while it rides right up the I-95 corridor. Another view from it from satellite, you can clearly see it there, making that northward jog and then heading off towards the north and west. Hurricane hunters, though, have been out there still getting measurements inside the system, and you can see they're just kind of flying around and reporting again the pressure dropping a little bit down to 938 millibars. That 936 millibar pressure was measured not a short time ago. The forecast track, though, is as of this afternoon. You can see really has not changed much, and we're expecting it to stay very close to the coast, just kind of ride up and along the coast here through Georgia and up towards South Carolina as potentially a Category 4, then doing some weakening, though, as we get towards the upcoming weekend. You can see the a little closer inspection here to the track kind of shows what we're expecting here, making that real close proximity to Cape Canaveral here by tomorrow morning, and then by tomorrow night it's going to be getting up around Jacksonville. So this is going to be a prolonged event for the state of Florida, especially once you get north of West Palm Beach. So you get up around the Space Coast and the First Coast, we could be looking at significant storm surge here. We're talking 9-foot water rises here expected along the Florida coast and up into Georgia, something they have not seen in modern times. And so it's going to be one of those, it's definitely, when you hear the life-threatening situation with Governor Scott talking about this storm potentially could kill you if you're up in that area, that's what they're talking about with that a very, very strong storm headed in that way. Now, the hurricane warning, again, remains in effect from the Georgia coast all the way southward towards Broward County. We're still looking at that tropical storm watch in effect, and this is questionable whether or not this is even going to be upgraded to a warning. I do not anticipate sustained tropical storm force winds for most of southwest Florida. I do think that we'll see wind gusts approaching or exceeding tropical storm force, getting above 40, but right now it looks like the winds sustained at the most 20 to 30 miles per hour, except over towards Hendry and Glades County. That's where we're going to see the strongest winds as the core of the storm gets a little bit closer to that area, and also in the Highlands County. So really these three counties here, and perhaps even into DeSoto, is where we're going to see some of those stronger winds as the storm's kind of moving in a diagonal direction like that. You will be closest to the core of the system, and this is what I'm talking about here. Notice that by 3 o'clock in the morning, this thing's going to be approaching, or at least just offshore of Martin and St. Lucie County, and then heading towards the north through Indian River County and up into the Cape Canaveral area by tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. But you can see how the wind field is shaped here, and it's going to be spreading those tropical storm force winds farther inland across Lake Okeechobee and then heading out towards the west into portions of Glades, Hendry, and into Highlands County. Now, again, the chance for tropical storm force winds is highest offshore and near the coast. The tropical storm force wind field, though, really kind of shows you just how much of a drop-off we're going to be seeing in the wind. So it's going to be concentrated in a fairly tight area in and around Glades County and up towards Hendry County, and points off towards the north and east, where we're going to be seeing some of the strongest winds here out of the system as it moves on through. So as far as rainfall totals are concerned, something we haven't really talked about much. The highest totals here where you see in the red and orange, and of course anywhere from 4 to 6 to 8 inches there. We're going to see much lighter totals the farther south and west you go. So most of southwest Florida at the most seeing between 1 and 2 inches of rainfall, as most of the rain is going to be falling offshore and near the core of the storm as it pushes off towards the north. So really, to sum things up, it definitely is going to be a bit inconvenient tonight. I do not anticipate anything serious for most of southwest Florida, just a few wind gusts perhaps into the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. Sustained winds for most areas, though, 20 to 30 with a little bit of rain. But the worst of it by far, I think the most concern is with Glades and Hendry County, as you'll be closest to the storm, and that's where you could see the strongest winds overnight tonight, which potentially could gust close to hurricane force after midnight tonight. Guys?
I think, Derek, we want to take you back now to Palm Beach County. We're going to 4 New Corners' Jason Hackett. He is in the super tiny town of Briny Breezes. Super small, like a population of about 400 or so, mostly mobile homes, but they got a kick-in location right on the water in Palm Beach County. Jason?
The wind is picking up here at Briny Breezes, situated between the Intracoastal and the Atlantic Ocean. We have been out here for the past few minutes. Saw a police officer with Boynton Beach riding through the community, making sure everybody is out, and he tells us everybody is out. He's been checking the doors and nobody is home, so people are taking the evacuation warning seriously. We want to show you some of the water down here. Look at how high the water is here along the docks, here along the Intracoastal. We're told that the water is actually coming down from high tide. High tide was just a few hours ago. The water is coming down. High tide set to come back up again. High tide set for midnight tonight. So you can imagine how bad the storm surge will be out here once high tide hits and Matthew blows through. Residents tell us that flooding is a problem here at the Briny Breezes community. But fortunately, it seems as everybody has made their way out, making their way to a safer area as Matthew approaches and gets closer to Florida, they're definitely heeding the evacuation warnings.
All right, thank you so much, Jason. Just tonight, Walt Disney now say they're closing down their parks, SeaWorld, Universal, all doing the same just as a precaution. We want to get back to Haiti because that has seen the most devastation after Hurricane Matthew powered through there. And the images coming out of there have been very powerful. You take a close look at some of the devastation in an island nation that's already had so much trouble. Tonight, the United Nations now calling this the worst humanitarian crisis to have ever hit Haiti since that 2010 earthquake. That was a biggie. That killed thousands of people. As of right now, the death toll in Haiti from Hurricane Matthew has risen to at least 108. The hurricane ripping through the country, packing winds of more than 100 miles an hour. It pummeled towns. You can see what's left behind. A lot of farms got it bad, resorts as well. Hundreds of thousands of people taking cover as walls collapsed, mudslides buried buildings. Remember, it's heavily deforested, so when the water comes, the mudslides are brutal. A United Nations spokesperson saying tonight at least 350,000 people are in need of immediate assistance in Haiti right now.
All right, so we want to show you in Cuba. Hurricane Matthew heads for the eastern side of our state. It's leaving major destruction in areas that had already hit. Take a look at this. This is what Cuba looks like after Matthew hit overnight. Powerful winds, torrential rains hitting Cuba's eastern city of Baracoa, destroying dozens of homes. You can see people trying to pick up the pieces there. State media in Cuba says roads to the city have been blocked by the storm, leaving the city temporarily cut off. The storm surged so strong it hurled a shipping container onto a street just blocks from the coast. Now, we are going to continue to monitor Matthew. We've got continuing coverage tonight. We are going to take a quick break, but before we do that, I'm sure a lot of you have specific questions. You know, what is it going to be like in your neck of the woods? What are you specifically going to feel? You can go on our Facebook page. We will be live on Facebook in a little bit here, but right now you can post your questions, and our Courtney Perna and Derek Beasley, our chief meteorologists, are going to be answering your questions live on Facebook and here live on the air, so make sure to go and post those.
And we'll be right back after we take a break.
October at GALLIANA. Deals so good the boss had to leave town. Someone's gonna be mad, but it's not you, because you're gonna get up to 30% off on over 1,000 new Chryslers, Dodges, Jeeps, Rams, and Fiats. That's right. There's nobody here to tell us what to do, and we're gonna pass savings on to you. 0 down, 0% APR for up to 66 months. 0 payments till 2017. Or get 2016 Jeep Compass for only $99 a month. Plus always get $1,000 more for your trade at GALLIANA. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go to GALLIANA.
Hello, America. It's time that we put our political policies aside and come together on an issue that we can all agree on, the traditional and Tuscan styles that have been running havoc on your home decor. Allow our designers to give a presentation and build a wall of fabrics, or perhaps come up with that one perfect selection. It's time we unite and come together and help de-Tuscanize your home. I'm Daniel, and I approve this message.
No two cancers are the same. Neither are any two cancer patients. That's why at Moffitt Cancer Center, we start with molecular testing and genomics to determine the most effective treatment plan to beat your cancer. One with the least side effects, so you can get back faster to the life you led before cancer. This is personalized medicine at its best.
Research I specialize in something called pharmacogenomics, which is using a patient's genome, their DNA, to understand which medicines are going to be the safest and most effective for them. a medicine could help some people, but not everyone. And so what is it about a person that causes them to not benefit in the same way that another would? Can we predict it, and then can we use that to make better care for everyone?
So if you've been diagnosed with cancer, call Moffitt Cancer Center first to schedule an appointment. Or visit Moffitt.org to learn why hundreds of thousands of patients have chosen Moffitt as their partner in their battle with cancer.
Welcome back to Four in Your Corners. Continuous coverage of Hurricane Matthew. You can see we're live on Facebook. There's Patrick and Amy there. I'm Courtney Perna here with Chief Meteorologist Eric Beasley, and I've been taking a look at social media very closely and watching some of the questions. And I know that you've been answering some of these throughout the newscast today, but some people are kind of tuning in. They kind of walk away. They tune back in. So let's kind of revisit some of the things. So. Clewiston. We've had a lot of questions about Clewiston. A lot of people have older relatives there, they've been saying on Facebook, so are we concerned?
Well, I think with Clewiston, especially, and really of anybody in the area, I think Clewiston and Buckhead Ridge and Lakeport and Moorhaven, places like that, have the best opportunity to see some of the strongest winds here for tonight. And as the storm gets a little bit closer, you can see the circulation there associated with the eye associated with Matthew as it approaches the coast. Now, it's going to get very close to Lake O here for tonight, and with the core of the storm being that close, that's where some of the strongest winds will be. So as far as Clewiston's concerned, I would not be surprised to see some winds 40 to 50 mile an hour range, maybe some gusts getting up to around 60, 70 miles per hour here late tonight. That would be after midnight tonight. So that's based on the current track, and it looks like it's taken a bit of a north jog. And the reason why that's important is the more north jogs it takes, the farther north along the coast it is going to make at least make its approach. So we want it to keep making those north jogs so it keeps the center more offshore and also lessens the chance of seeing stronger winds. But right now, worst case scenario for Clewiston, 35, 40 to 45 mile an hour winds with gusts getting up around 60, 70 miles per hour.
Okay, and you're talking about keeping that eye off into the ocean. I mean, isn't the eye where it's calmest, but right outside the eye, it gets pretty violent?
It's the eye wall, right? The eye is where you have the calm, but of course the eye wall is where you have the strongest winds. And with this particular storm, the eye wall, or at least the hurricane force winds, extend outward about 40 miles. So.
Okay, and we also talked about the storm looping around and coming back and hitting Miami. A lot of people have been asking about that on Facebook. So what are the chances of that, and are we really concerned about the strength at that point?
Not now, because the environment's going to change a little bit next week. We're going to have wind shear in place, which is unfavorable for us. So it's going to do the loop. It will do the loop, but there's still some disagreement as exactly where and how far offshore the loop, if the loop will come all the way around. But right now, I'm not concerned about it. So which is something we'll watch, but not too worried about it.
Maybe too early to kind of really talk about it.
Right.
So tornadoes, that's a big conversation on Facebook right now as well. I know you mentioned it when you were at the weather wall there. So what can you kind of revisit that? How concerned are we?
Well, considering that the center of the storm is actually going to be east of us, and whenever you have a tropical storm or a hurricane making landfall, the side you don't want to be on is the east side. In particular, the northeast quadrant with respect to the way it's moving. So with this thing moving north and west, the northeast quadrant is likely to be staying just a little bit offshore. That is, unless it starts moving inland farther north. But right now, we're going to be on the west side of the system, where you typically don't get the rotation that you need for tornadoes, so I do not anticipate a tornado issue tonight.
That is some good news. That's some good news. And some people are talking about when should they start putting up their plywood and their shutters, but it sounds like we might not really need it
I don't think you'll need it here.
Okay.
I really don't anticipate this being a bad event for us. And that's definitely a good thing. If this thing had started coming northwest and started coming into the Miami area, and I'd be a little bit more concerned. But considering how far north it's going to be approaching the Florida coast, I'm not terribly concerned about it being that kind of situation.
So we've been keeping you up to date on school closings as well. We know that Glades and Hendry counties are going to be closed. Lee and Collier right now are open, but we will keep you updated. And if anything changes, a lot of people are asking about businesses, but a lot of businesses are privately owned, so it really just depends. But it sounds like we're not going to really get the brunt of the storm here.
Really. And the thing is, tomorrow, the weather for most of the area is going to be fine. We'll be a little windy in the morning, a little cloudy. There may be some rain early in the morning, but as the day progresses, the storm moves away. Our conditions here in Southwest Florida are going to improve drastically. So right now, I do not feel like Friday is going to be really the weather's going to be bad enough for you to have to close your business.
Gotcha, okay. And obviously we're talking about some very serious things here on the show. There's a lot of devastation that we've seen in Haiti, and we don't even know the numbers yet in the Bahamas. But on a lighter note, Derek, I got to tell you that a lot of people on Facebook thought it was really cool to be able to see you in front of the green screen there.
Oh,
when
really?
we were live, they're like, is that all rain? What's all that green? So it was kind of a cool behind-the-scenes look when you are on
it's the
Facebook
magic of
Live.
TV, yep.
Yeah, so a lot of people were asking, you know, where are you pointing? What are you doing? So
Right.
it's kind of like a cool look when you see that. So to all of you that got to see the behind the scenes, Facebook Live is really cool for that. But if you want to see the graphics and all the work that he puts in behind the scenes, making those for us, then you got to watch us on TV.
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm going to have to make some more.
There you go. All right, this is a live look at a sister station, I believe, WSVN there. Over the bridges. We've also talked about tolls and bridges, too. I mean, are a lot of those closing down?
Well, from what I understand, that the Governor Scott has waived all the tolls for, you know, just for so folks can get out of the way of this thing,
Right.
which was definitely a good move. But again, as you can see, really things are starting to go downhill for the East Coast, and we're seeing some issues here on the West Coast as well. But just mainly in the way of rainfall. Now, what I want to do is show you this. This is the eye that is now starting to approach Freeport. There's been a bit of a northward jog, as I mentioned earlier, within the last half hour to 45 minutes or so. And you can see that these minus and plus signs here showing that there is some lightning building up in the eye wall, which is indicative of intensification. Another thing that I'm noticing with this is it actually looks like it's developing what we call concentric eye wall. So you have one eye and then you have a larger outer eye. And again, when you get that configuration like that on radar, it looks like it is trying to replace its old eye with a new one. So a lot of times what will happen is the wind field will expand a little bit, so you'll get the hurricane force winds expanding outward a little bit farther. And you may also get some intensification as well. And we have seen that with the pressure dropping a few more millibars. Now, we are seeing bands of rain that have been pushing across southwest Florida. Again, these are just mainly rain producers. They're producing some wind gusts, 20, 30, 40 miles per hour at times. But really, these are mostly harmless, to be honest with you. And you can see they're just kind of spreading south and westward offshore, just off to the west of Captiva and Sanibel. We're looking at some rain here down into portions of Collier County from Naples and Marco Island. And as I showed you earlier, some more rain bands rotating westward, heading out of Okeechobee County and heading into Highlands County. So, again, Highlands County is one of those areas tonight that we'll see some of those stronger winds as the core of the storm gets a little bit closer. You see, this is the idea that we're talking about here. The wind is generally running about 15 to 20 miles an hour, some 25-mile-an-hour winds. So really nothing that you haven't seen before. You see up towards Port Charlotte some wind gusts approaching 30 miles per hour. By far with this, the strongest winds out of the system are going to be along the immediate coastline, and of course, the farther inland you get, closer to the core of the storm. So the closer you live to Lake Okeechobee, the closer you live to the East Coast, that's where your winds will be strongest here for tonight. Becoming a little bit more clearly, much more clearly visible here on infrared satellite as it moves to the north and west. The weather, again, is going to be improving significantly here by tomorrow morning. So really the worst of it will be through late tonight, after dark, through midnight, through early tomorrow morning. And then finally things are going to start to improve, at least for southwest Florida, once the system starts making its way away from the area up into areas in and around Cape Canaveral. And you can see here on the Hurricane Hunter data, the last reading that we got was 936 pressure. So the pressure, whenever the pressure gets lower, that indicates that the system is trying to strengthen. And it did undergo some problems when it moved over Cuba. It moved over land and it did weaken a little bit, but it's regained strength since then. And we've just seen further intensification from there. A lot of folks were talking about the loop around, if you will, next week. A few of the computer models, in particular the GFS, was showing that loop around potentially as a hurricane next week. It has since scrapped that idea. There was only one model run, and it's one of those things that you just can't get caught up in those type of things. And a lot of times you get on social media and you start seeing things spread around, and there's a lot of fear-mongering going on. Right now, there is no risk for a hurricane next week. The system does have a chance to loop around, but right now I do want to make that clear. There is no risk at all of a hurricane coming around and hitting Florida again next week. But it's a system we're going to be watching. The Hurricane Center does have the loop around occurring, which I do agree with, considering some of the models are showing that. And we could see it approach again as an area of low pressure by early next week. Here's the latest forecast track. This is going to be updated here at 5 o'clock. But you see what I'm talking about. It's going to make that northwestern movement and then approach areas in and around Brevard County by late tonight, early tomorrow morning. So right around 8 o'clock in the morning, it's projected to be near Cape Canaveral, and then it's just basically going to parallel the coast up towards St. Augustine, Daytona, and then heading up to around Jacksonville here by tomorrow night. And then it's going to curl around and affect the Georgia coast, which is an extremely rare event for those folks. Definitely on the Georgia coast, they don't see tropical storms and hurricanes approach that area very often. Hurricane warnings remain in effect for areas off towards our east. We still have that tropical storm watch in place, and we'll see if they upgrade this to a warning. I really don't anticipate it at this time, but as you can see, a large part of southwest Florida under this tropical storm watch with the anticipation that we could see winds in the tropical storm range, but I think that's going to be mainly restricted to gusts. I do not anticipate seeing sustained tropical storm force winds here later on tonight, but you know, certainly we'll keep our eyes on it and keep you updated if anything changes. The tropical storm warning as it stands now for Highlands, Glades, Hendry, and Collier County up into Hardy County, and then getting up into Polk County as well. I showed this earlier. This is the wind field, and this is going to be updated as well once the new advisory comes out. But you can see the large area of yellow showing the area of tropical storm force winds. So by late tonight, early tomorrow morning, after midnight, this is where we're going to be seeing the strongest winds. So again, out towards the east, Okeechobee County, getting out towards Martin and St. Lucie County, Palm Beach County, and you can see that northeastern portion of Hendry and eastern Glades, nearest to Lake Okeechobee and into Highlands County is where we're going to be seeing the strongest winds in southwest Florida tonight, but that will be a little after midnight, and that will move away fairly quickly. Notice how the chances for hurricane-force winds drop off significantly once you get across Lake Okeechobee over into northeast Glades, although Glades does have a chance of seeing some hurricane-force wind gusts, at least close to it, depending on how close the center gets to the coast, and of course, high probabilities for tropical storm force winds extending anywhere from central and eastern Glades through Highlands, northeastern portions of Hendry County, and points off towards the east. Notice how these lines are very close together, showing a significant drop-off in the chance of seeing sustained tropical storm force winds, and I do agree with that. Rainfall totals at the most 1 to 2 inches across the area. We could see some totals getting up towards around 3 to 4 inches near some of those rain bands, and especially the persistent ones that form closer to the circulation center. And that would be the highest chance of that happening would be over towards areas like Moorhaven and Clewiston, but back towards the west, including Fort Myers and Port Charlotte down towards Naples, chances of seeing significant rainfall much lower, so only about 1 to 2 inches right now. So that's how things stack up right now. It looks like, again, just a few wind gusts across the area tonight, getting up perhaps to tropical storm force with some of the rain bands. Sustained winds 20 to 30 at the most, exception Glades and Hendry County. But besides that, I think overall this system, definitely we dodged a bullet with this one as far as the system going farther north, so the stronger winds are likely going to stay up towards parts of east central Florida and up towards the first coast.
All right, thank you, Derek. So now we want to send it on over to our Four in Your Corner's Adam Pinsker. He's been traveling around southwest Florida in our breaking news tracker. He joins us live now from a shelter in LaBelle. Adam.
Amy, that was quite a smooth ride on our brand new breaking news tracker. I am at LaBelle Middle School. It's on 8000 Cowboy Way. This is one of the storm shelters open in Hendry County. I'm told by some of the staff here that there's plenty of room for folks who are coming in here from eastern portions of the county who need to evacuate because that's where the strongest part of the storm is going to be. If you are coming here, you cannot bring pets except for service animals. That's all you can bring to this shelter. They have storm shutters up. They have friendly staff and refreshments in there to help you out. I want to just kind of show you what it looks like here. We're probably 30 miles east of Fort Myers in western Hendry County. Very calm, very overcast. Not too hot, not too humid out here. Derek mentioned this county is under a tropical storm watch, but thus far no wind out here, and it stopped raining about 7 miles west of here. So again, if you are thinking about getting to a shelter, which you should do before the evening, this one has plenty of room. It's at 8000 Cowboy Way at LaBelle Middle School. That's where we're reporting live. I'm Adam Pinsker for Fox 4.
All right, thank you so much, Adam. As we've been reporting, a few gas stations in southwest Florida are running low on fuel themselves as people rush to fill up their tanks ahead of the effects of the storm. Let's get right back to Four in Your Corner's Jillian Idle, who's in Cape Coral now with the latest. Little foggy on the lens there, getting wet out there.
That's right, Patrick, it is. So we are here off of State Road 80. People have been filling up, stopping by, both locals and also people heading from the east coast of Florida. I just talked to a man who was filling up a trailer here. He said he was here from Port St. Lucie. He said it wasn't too bad as far as gas stations heading here, but he was definitely concerned filling up some extra tanks. Now, we did talk to the gas station as well. They said they just got some more fuel. So as far as that goes, it's they have plenty of fuel for people who are trying to get here from the East Coast. I also, though, just got off the phone with a gas station along Alligator Alley, exit 49, one of those other routes that people who are evacuating from the East Coast would be taking. Now, they did tell me they are shutting off their pumps tonight at 6 p.m. That's all in an effort to reserve fuel for people who might be heading by tomorrow. So we have that information, but also they have activated a price gouging hotline. So if you suspect any gas stations along any routes in Florida, if you are evacuating, that number is 1-866-9-NO-SCAM. You can call that number and report any price gouging. Of course, we're going to be keeping an eye on this, figuring out what gas stations are low on fuel and also which ones have plenty of fuel for people. So if you have any friends or family heading from the East Coast to here, you can let them know. But of course, we will keep an eye on this and bring more to you as we receive it. For now, I'll send it back to you, Patrick, in the studio.
All right. Thank you, Jillian, for checking in on that. We will check back with her in just a little bit. So obviously, as we continue to monitor, Matthew, it's creeping towards the east coast of Florida. We have reporters throughout Southwest Florida and on the East Coast as well. Our Chris Stewart is on the Treasure Coast, so let's check in with him on some road conditions there.
You can take a look at these pictures we have right here. We just crossing from Palm Beach County into Martin County right now, and you can see the road's pretty much empty at this point. There is some rain that's coming down. Not too heavy right now, but if you look on your screen, the pictures are up, and those clouds definitely tell the story right now. We've been out on the road. We're off the road for a bit, but a couple hours ago we were on it, and we saw definitely more cars, but now really just one or two I can see just a little bit far ahead of us. So people definitely getting the warning with this storm at this point. But we are continuing north right now as the rain, definitely the wind as well. That's something that you can definitely feel even inside of the car as this storm continues to grow closer. Again, the rain not too bad at this point, but as we continue to head north, we'll certainly keep you posted with what we're seeing here on the road.
All right, that is Chris Stewart reporting from the Treasure Coast. That's St. Lucie County, Martin County, and Indian River County. So all the counties just north of the West Palm Beach area. The largest county in that part of Florida, of course, is Palm Beach County. 4 in your corners, Lisa Greenberg joining us live from West Palm Beach now with a look at how the conditions have changed just since our live coverage started about an hour ago. Lisa?
Well, conditions have certainly worsened since the last time we checked in with you guys. The wind gusts are getting stronger and stronger, and it's certainly gotten much wetter out here. You can see my jacket is completely soaked through. My hat is completely soaked through. And if you take a look at this lake, this is Clear Lake right off the coast of West Palm Beach. You can see the wind actually blowing the water toward this direction. The wind is like bouncing off the water almost. You can see it very clearly. That's what we're dealing with out here. Just in the last half hour, you can feel that things have gotten much more intense. It's certainly strengthened out here. The trees have been blowing like crazy. Look over there. You can see there's just a little snapshot of what we've seen. It was much worse just a few minutes ago, but the wind and the rain have gotten stronger as this storm moves closer and closer to this area. This area has not been evacuated, but you can see there's hardly anyone around. There's hardly any cars. There's no people walking around. Areas just north of here along the coast have been evacuated, and those people have been flocking to the local shelters, mainly middle schools and high schools that are being used for Red Cross shelters. They're being taken care of there, given some warm meals, given some place to sleep to ride out the storm, and they say that they're not too nervous. They just want to make sure that they and their families and friends all stay safe. They're not too concerned about their homes. They say all of that is fixable, it's all replaceable. So at this point, they're just hunkering down in those shelters and waiting. Again, this area has not been evacuated. Everyone's already inside their homes bracing for Hurricane Matthew. We'll check in with you guys in a little bit. For now, we're live in West Palm Beach. Lisa Greenberg, Fox 4, in your corner.
All All right, thank you. Lisa Greenberg reporting live from the West Palm Beach, the downtown area, that Clear Lake area, very close to the downtown area, and showing you there's not too many people outside right now in that area of West Palm Beach. 4 in your corner now, shifting our attention to the Daytona Beach area. Remember, our chief meteorologist, Eric Beasley, says that area along the Space Coast could see the most severe impact from this hurricane. 4 in your corner, Sarah Rosario is showing you what people there are looking at right now.
Boarding up, stocking up, and moving out. From the Sunshine State to the Carolinas, race to get out of the way as Hurricane Matthew inches closer and closer to the U.S.
Time is running out. Don't take a chance.
Mandatory evacuations extend from Florida through South Carolina.
If you have not evacuated, gas stations are getting ready to close. Your pharmacies are getting ready to close. Everything is going to leave.
Along Georgia's coast, too.
A lot of them seen a lot of these watches or warnings, and nothing's really hit here in a while, and there may be some complacency.
If you need to evacuate and you haven't, evacuate. This storm will kill you.
In Florida, more than 2,000 members of the National Guard stand at the ready, while swift water rescue teams prepare across the region. Hurricane Matthew has already battered the Bahamas after leaving a trail of destruction through Haiti, where the death toll is expected to climb. The storm is strengthened to a Category 4 with sustained winds as high as 140 miles per hour or more as it nears the Florida Peninsula. The strongest storm to threaten the state in more than a decade.
These catastrophic levels can completely wipe out well-built homes and destroy neighborhoods.
Millions bracing for a potentially catastrophic impact as Matthew churns in the Atlantic.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah. The happiest place on earth, or at least the place that bills itself that way, Disney World in Orlando, closing in 10 minutes now because of Hurricane Matthew. The iconic theme park is going to stay closed tomorrow as well as this big storm approaches Florida. No decision yet from Disney on whether they're going to be open on Saturday. The closures will affect theme parks, all the water parks, of course, Disney Springs, the miniature golf courses, and ESPN Wide World of Sports complex. Disney is already evacuating its Fort Wilderness campground as of tonight. Universal Studios, also in Orlando, going to be closing their theme parks early tonight. They'll stay closed tomorrow as well. This includes City Walk, Wet and Wild, and this is a big one this time of year because they get so many people. Halloween Horror Nights canceled tonight and tomorrow night. We've been getting questions about this on Facebook, so you have your answer if you're going to drive up from Southwest Florida. They're hoping to be back to normal operations at Universal on Saturday.
Well, the LSU Florida football game scheduled for Saturday in Gainesville has been postponed because of the hurricane as well. This was announced today. The universities and the SEC office will be working to reschedule the game later in the 26th season if they can. Before deciding to postpone the game, though, the schools and the SEC looked at other dates and location options. LSU did offer to either travel or host the game over the course of the weekend, but ultimately it was determined that the likelihood of the damage from the storm and the lack of available emergency personnel and the uncertainty of the impact of the storm on people that's what they decided to postpone it. So we'll have to wait and see when they plan for that.
Hurricane Matthew really taking a toll on travel plans. More than 1,500 flights have now been canceled through tomorrow, all because of this hurricane. According to FlightAware.com, over 1,000 flights have already been canceled in the U.S. The most affected airports are Miami, Fort Lauderdale closing down. Meanwhile, Orlando International Airport is expected to close at 8 o'clock. So in just about 3 hours, Orlando's shutting down. We're not seeing any major impacts, though, at RSW, Southwest Florida International Airport. But if you do have flights in and out of RSW, you are urged to keep an eye on things.
All right, we're keeping a close eye on Matthew as it approaches the Florida coast here. All we've seen across Southwest Florida through the afternoon is just a few rain bands. It's gotten cloudier and it's gotten breezier at times. And it looks like conditions will continue to steadily go downhill for tonight. I really don't anticipate it getting that bad for most of Southwest Florida. Really, the only areas that I'm really concerned about for the possibility of maybe some damage as far as the winds are concerned, that is depending on how close the center gets to the coast, would be for Glades and Hendry County and up into Highlands County. You see these rain bands just kind of rotating from northeast to southwest across the area. And we're not going to get a ton of rain out of these. Total out of the whole event through tomorrow, we're only expecting anywhere from, at the most, maybe 3 to 4 inches for areas farther east. But most of us, though, are going to be seeing rainfall totals generally in the 1 to 2 inch rain, if that. Here's a look at the radar, and as you can see, The eye continues to steadily make its way towards the coast. It's been undergoing these wobbles, so it's kind of going up like it's going up on a stair step, if you will. Some north jogs and then turning west and then north jogs, so it's going to be heading up towards Freeport here shortly. It'll be interesting to see some of the reports out of Freeport if indeed the eye wall does end up crossing close to there. But actually it looks like it's developing what we call concentric eye walls, where we have one eye in the middle and then a larger one on the outside. We'll have to see if this is actually a sign that the storm is undergoing what we call an eye wall replacement cycle, to where it's getting a new eye and getting rid of the old one. But you can see the minus and plus signs here associated with the lightning within the eye wall, which is indicative of some strength that may be going on. You can see these bands of rain that are kind of pushing offshore, some light rain now going on from Venice down towards Inglewood, down towards Captiva and Sanibel. So even here in the Cape, we're still seeing some light rain. North Fort Myers, downtown Fort Myers, down in the Bonita Springs and Naples and Marco Island, some showers there. Some of the heavier showers now pushing into Sebring and Lake Placid. This was the band that was earlier in Okeechobee County, and we could see some gusts here over 30 miles an hour as that pushes on through. But besides that, really outside of the rain bands, we're only seeing winds generally in the 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 mile per hour range. So really the winds are not that strong at all. They're going to pick up a little bit more than this here for tonight as the center gets a little bit closer, but for most of us here in Southwest Florida, really not looking that bad at all. You can see the wind gusts here about 22 miles an hour in Punta Gorda and 21 in Naples. There's the eye beginning to show up there just south of Freeport. Continuing to move towards the northwest. Right now we expect the approach to the coast to occur sometime tomorrow morning near Cape Canaveral, and basically it's just going to parallel the coast all the way up to areas just east of Jacksonville. This is the latest advisory, and haven't gotten a chance to get back there and make some adjustments to these times here, but you can see how the track has not changed. Maximum sustained winds at 938 millibars, and the pressure is at 938, but the position 26.2 degrees north, 78.6 degrees west. So really no changes expected. Notice the loop around here. That certainly is a possibility. Right now, though, there is still some questions exactly how that's going to be evolving here for next week. But the loop around that you did hear about is certainly possible, but right now not as a hurricane. Here's the latest track. Again, you can see how the projection basically shows it just offshore of, looks like Indian River in St. Lucie County by 2 o'clock in the morning, and then getting up towards the Space Coast and into the First Coast by tomorrow afternoon. So we'll be approaching Jacksonville by mid-afternoon tomorrow. Hurricane warnings remain in place for the same areas, including Okeechobee County and Lake O itself. And the tropical storm watch for the time being remains in effect for much of Southwest Florida, and that's really just anticipating the possibilities of seeing some gusts over tropical storm force. I do not anticipate sustained tropical storm force winds, particularly this far west, back closer towards the Gulf Coast. Hurricane warnings, again, tropical storm warnings, I should say, remain in effect for really Polk County, Hardy County, up towards Highlands County, and all the way southward into Collier County. So some of the same areas that were affected before. Now, this should be the new hurricane wind field here, and as you can see, this is pretty much what we were expecting. Getting around 4 a.m., we should see this thing just to the east of Indian River County here and down into sections of southern Brevard County. But you can see the hurricane force winds, at least the strongest ones, near the coast and just offshore. The farther south and west you get, though, a larger area of tropical storm force winds that will be affecting Lake Okeechobee down towards Highlands County and into portions of Glades County as well. So you kind of get the idea. The winds certainly will be picking up tonight, particularly closest to Lake Okeechobee. But besides that, it looks like everybody else, though, a slight pickup in the winds and a little bit more rain, but shouldn't get any worse than that. Rainfall totals, as I said, this has been adjusted and updated a little bit. Highest totals closest to the core, Moorhaven, around 3 inches, not out of the question, but you get farther west, though, Fort Myers, only about 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. So you can see how the core of the storm basically passes just east of West Palm Beach here, right around midnight, heads up towards Fort Pierce, and then it's going to be pushing off towards the north, right along the coast, getting into areas around Cape Canaveral here by tomorrow morning. So again, our forecast for tonight, breezy, the temperatures in the mid-70s with a few showers around. We'll have some gusts up to 25. Higher gusts, though, for Glades and Hendry County. And then tomorrow, windy in the morning, becoming partly cloudy, but improving conditions as we go throughout the afternoon hours. So once we get through tonight, the rest of your Friday and the weekend looking just fine. We'll be right back.